Okay. So this is Christine Doan. Where were you in the web business app and technical stuff area of your life before we started working together?
Well, in a funny way, not that far from where I am now, because I'm a complete digital dinosaur, like 98%. I have all these wonderful devices such that people think, oh, you're so up to date, you're ancient and wrinkled and over the hill, but you've got all the latest stuff. You must be really up on technology. Wrong! Wrong! I'm hopeless. So I always have lots of help for my IT things. So when you and I started working together, I got an extra increment of IT help, but I wasn't floundering before, simply because if I were on my own, I would flounder at any time, and I always have help. So that's a bit of a funny answer to that question, but I'm sort of an unusual example.
Okay. So what were your hesitations when first deciding to work with me, and what helped you overcome them?
I'll tell you what my hesitations were. Oh, I can't stand tech people. The geeky of the world think that everything is intuitive, and of course you want to use all these apps, and of course you can do all this wonderful stuff, and I don't get it. So I approach anybody who has tech improvements for me with total skepticism. But I mean, total skepticism.
Okay. And what changed, or what helped you overcome those?
Oh, well, as we got to know each other, I realized that not only did we click really well working together, because we've worked together on projects and very important ones to both of us, and I could see that you approached the whole IT thing from a different point of view. So that's, I think, what gave me the impetus to say, okay, in spite of my skepticism, in spite of my total digital dinosaur status, I'll have a go.
Okay. And so what's a concrete change or improvement that you have seen in your web business app technical stuff since we've been working together?
Well, that's really easy to say. I've added very little on, because my requirement was that I not have to add a whole lot of different platforms and apps and all that. They just drive me bonkers. Yeah. So we've basically focused on Evernote and tried to arrange it so that it worked for me. More about which later.
Yes. Actually, do you want to do a little? Oh, well, yeah, no, we'll go on to the next question, because I'd like to come back to that. Yeah. So how would you describe what it's like to work with me?
Well, it was like this revelation for me, because all of a sudden here was somebody who actually wanted to know how I think and how he could make my computer work for me. And everybody else I've ever talked to wanted to explain how a computer thinks and make me work for my computer. I didn't want to. So I've had this enormous benefit of feeling heard, feeling understood, and feeling as though the improvements, the small and few improvements that we made, were really targeted and really appropriate for my way of thinking. So I didn't have to think like a computer, but my computer would think more like I think.
Oh, yeah, thanks. And so what would you say to someone who's thinking about committing to work with me?
Well, if they're really IT proficient, they probably would have a great time talking over the latest this and the latest that with you, and adding on 16 new apps and 14 new platforms, and make them all connect together in the background and doing all this fancy stuff. But let me tell you, for anybody who considers themselves to be in the below the median of digital competence, or if they're a proper digital dinosaur like myself, you're the only person that I would work with on this particular aspect, because exactly what I've said before. You've tried to make the computer think the way I think, you have not tried to make me think the way a computer thinks.
Yeah.
Which is basically impossible. I mean, I'm 68 years old. Look, no computer is intuitive for me. I had one of those first iPads that was sold in cans, and not even an iPad was intuitive. I had to learn every step of it, and I'm still really bad at running my iPhone, my iPad, my whatevers. I seem to be able to walk up to a computer and it just says, ugh, can't deal with human breaks. I've got this talent. So anybody who feels like they have that kind of talent, that they're good at mucking up a computer, or just don't understand computers, or whatever it is where there's a mismatch, go to Seamus.
Okay. And it is actually important these days to try and tailor how the computer works to your individual mind, which is getting more and more possible as we're getting more advanced with computer stuff, which is very important, I think.
However, it may be possible today, but most computer techie geeky people have not even considered the possibility, because they think like computers. Otherwise, they wouldn't be computer techie geeky people. Yes. So, how do you have a person who can empathize with a computer, so to speak, and also empathize with a human being? You're very unusual, I would say rare and unique in my experience, and that's why I would recommend you to anyone. At the top end of the range, they can have great fun playing with all these techie apps and things. And at the bottom of the range, for the likes of me, of which there are a lot on the Atherton tablelands, I'm sorry, there are lots of us, there's no one else to go to but you.
Oh, thank you. And the final question, which I think I already know the answer, is, would you encourage them?
Yeah, like just give them my phone number, the ones who are hesitant. I'm not a very good salesman for myself, but I tell you what, I can sell you.
Yes. Okay.
Well, because the skill that you have is it's not easily marketable, because it's hard to get this across to people. However, it's extremely saleable once somebody experiences the benefit. And look, you have to spend a little more time at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it's more like working with you sort of have to have a psychological view of things. You have to have human empathy. You have to have enough time to get for you to get an idea of how I actually do think. And each client will, of course, be different. And so I would be very much encouraging people to take the time to let you get to know them. That's the important bit. But under no circumstance hesitate to go and work with you.
No, thank you. All right, so we'll stop recording now.